This video is about Das Perfekt, the conversational past. It is a review. Please follow along with your handout and fill in as you go. If at any time you want to pause to write something down or take additional notes or even rewind to rewatch something, please go ahead and do that. This recording is for you to use at your own pace, so do what you need to do. First, this tense is used to talk about the past, so something that happened as recently as a minute ago or something that happened hundreds of years ago. It's also called the conversational past because it's used in spoken German, so when you're conversing with someone. There's a different past tense that's used for writing, and you will learn that another time. So you should remember from last year or review now that there are two parts to the perfect. There's a helping verb that goes in the second spot of the sentence, and then there's the past participle, which goes at the end of the sentence. So most verbs use the helping verb haben. There are some verbs that use sein as their helping verb, and they usually show motion, like to go, to run, to swim, to travel, or they have a change of state, so growing, being born. If it's ice, like it's melting or freezing. Here's a quick review of how to conjugate haben, to have, and sein, to be. If you don't remember these off the top of your head, then you need to spend some time studying them because these verbs are a big part of the perfect. So you evaluate your own memory. If you need to take some time to review it, do that. So, refresher on how to form the past participle. For regular verbs, also called weak verbs, and most of them follow this pattern, you take your infinitive, get rid of the en to form the stem, then you add ge, g to the beginning of the stem, and add a t to the end of the stem. So the formula that we learned was ge plus stem plus t, and that's your past participle. For irregular verbs, it's a similar pattern. There are some changes, so you still take the infinitive, you get rid of the en to get a stem, but for a lot of these irregular verbs, there's usually a spelling change or a vowel change. You still have a ge at the beginning, and the irregular verbs usually have an en at the end of the past participle. So in a little bit, we'll look at some examples for each. So let's start with some regular verbs. So take a moment to look these over and think about what the past participle for each of these verbs are. So pause the video, think about it, write it down maybe, and when you're ready, hit play and I will show you die Antworten. So here are the past participles. And notice that number 11, gearbeitet, has a star by it, and that is because when you get rid of the en, arbeit, the stem ends in a T, and you can't pronounce two T's next to each other, so you have to add an E in there, add an extra syllable. So that is why this participle is gearbeitet, not just two T's. So you can't use them alone. You have to use the helping verb in the second spot of the sentence. We're going to look at that also and see some examples. So as you can see here, I played, ich habe gespielt. Your helping verb, which in this case is haben, is in the second spot, and you conjugate your helping verb. So we've got ich habe, and your past participle gespielt is at the end of the sentence. These sentences are simple, so there are only 3 words. But if you see the example at the bottom, I played with my brother, you'll see a more complex sentence. Ich habe mit meinem Bruder gespielt. We still have habe in the second spot, and your past participle gespielt is all the way at the end. Now here are some verbs that use sein. Again, they are going to show motion or change of state. So take a second to think to yourself. Try to remember from previous years what the past participle is. When you're ready to resume the video, I will show you die Antworten. So here are your past participles, and you can see that most of them end in an en. But there are some that still end in a T, like gereist or gewandert. So you really need to just memorize these. You need to take some time and really practice The best way is just to practice, practice, practice. But in a pinch, you can look on dict.leo.org, look up a verb. Always look up the verb infinitive. So don't say played, the past tense, because that's not going to work very well with the dictionary. So you put in to play, and you'll see that there's the infinitive spielen. Then in some brackets, there's spielte, that is a different past tense. And then finally, you'll see gespielt, which is the conversational past form, and that is what we are using here. Just a quick reminder that we have some separable prefix verbs. And here the g is going to go in between the prefix and the main part of the verb. So for example, invited, einladen. The g goes in between ein and laden, so eingeladen. Again, you may want to look these up on dict.leo just to make sure you're using them correctly. You can always use that as a reference. There are some that don't separate, like besuchen. The past participle is besucht. You don't say gebesucht. Or verstehen, gefallen. So the main prefixes that do not separate are be, er, emp, ent, ge, ver, and ser. I do not expect you to memorize those, but just keep in mind that there are some that do not separate and do not add a GE. So let's take a moment to look at some sentences. These are in the present tense. I would like you to put them into the past tense. We've got a whole mix here of regular verbs, irregular verbs, haben and sein. So take a moment to put these into the past tense. Pause the video and do that. And when you're ready, hit play and you'll see die Antworten. So again, you just need to really practice, especially with those irregular verbs. This year we're going to learn some new verbs, both regular and irregular, so strong and weak, and we're going to practice in class, but the best thing you can do for yourself is really practice these, and so you know them like the back of your hand, and you have them memorized, and you don't even have to question yourself. So thank you for watching this review, and I hope that this helped. Ask me please if you have any questions. Ciao!